All right, does anyone listening know the true history of the Chicago Cubs? It's not what you think. If you believe it's all about winning, if you believe the 2016 narrative, I'm sorry, you're wrong. The Cubs from the 1950s through 2016 were known by two words: the lovable losers. That was it. They were known as America's lovable losers. Not just Chicago's, not just across baseball communities. The whole country knew them as that. When you took in a Cubs game in the 1980s and 70s and 90s, you went to enjoy the scenery. You went to enjoy the history, the nostalgia. You went to listen to Harry Carey deliver the seventh inning stretch. No one went to actually watch the Cubs win. That's not how it was back then. And by the way, that's why Harry Carey is so revered here in Chicago. He made baseball entertaining despite the fact that the on-the-field product was horrible. But the point is, it seems like people are very short-sighted here. They only remember the Cubs for the 2016 World Series championship. They don't remember the angst that went into the 108-year drought. No one remembers the collapses and the disappointments and the issues that tormented this organization for decades and generations. It's all gone. No one thinks about it. No one knows it anymore. I'm here to tell you that history right now is repeating itself. And for those who don't know the Chicago Cubs behind 2016, let me give you a refresher course. 1969. They were supposed to win the pennant. They blew it to the Mets, who ended up winning the World Series. 1984. They were up against the Padres in the NLCS. Blew a 2-0 lead. 1998. Sammy Sosa bashes 66 home runs. They win the wild card in a play-in game. They get swept. 2003, Steve Bartman. 2004, LaTroy Hawkins. 2017, they win the division, can't go far in the playoffs. 2018, the collapse when it came to the play-in game for the playoffs. Does anyone remember this stuff, or are we still fixated on old news? Are we still fixated on one World Series championship that should have been 3 or 4? This young core was supposed to deliver multiple World Series championships. It was supposed to be a, dynasty. It was supposed to be a dynasty. Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber to an extent. Hayward, Darvish. All of these guys who were homegrown and brought in were supposed to bring multiple championships to the city of Chicago. Obviously, that didn't happen. And right now, the Chicago Cubs, despite being in first place, and despite everybody thinking, oh, it's all fine, they'll be in the playoffs, they're a World Series contender, I'm here to tell you that you're dead wrong. The Cubs right now are watching history repeat itself again. We're watching another collapse come to the north side. And if you don't believe me, look at what's going on the field right now. The Cubs only have one competent starting pitcher. Just one. Yu Darvish. Now, ironically enough, he's going to be a Cy Young Award candidate, but the supporting cast behind him is atrocious. Tyler Chatwood's on the DL. What happened to the Tyler Chatwood fan club? Before the year, oh, he's going to be great. He'll be recovered. Last year, he did good. From the very beginning, I was skeptical. And now look, he's hurt. When he was in, he walked everybody again, and his ERA was above 5. Now, that's the Tyler Chatwood that I know. Alec Mills was supposed to be the starter of the future. The Cubs had finally proclaimed that they had homegrown a starter. It was haunting them for years and bothering them. All of their pitching was known to be free agent signings. This was going to be the guy. His ERA is about 5. He's been booted from the rotation. Kyle Hendricks has done okay, but he's been inconsistent. And John Lester, who we all know is old, is still surprising to me. His ERA is about 5. I was expecting 4, 4.5 his last year. I didn't expect it to be above 5 and to be hurting this team. I thought, if anything, he'd be a league average presence and a good back end of the rotation guy. He's hurt them more than helped them. And yet some people believe today that the Cubs are still a World Series contender, they're still a primetime playoff contender, and that they'll win the division. I'm rebuking all 3 of those claims here. Teddy Greenstein was on this show the other day, and he said, quote, they didn't look like a playoff team even. And that's despite the fact that we're in a pandemic and the MLB's letting everybody in to the playoffs. I'll tell you one thing, if that wasn't the case, David Ross would be in real hot water right now. Joe Maddon was fired, or let go, for winning the team a World Series and leading them every year to above 500 records and getting them into the postseason multiple times. Everyone said it was his fault. David Ross comes in, and the Cubs are only 6 games above 500 here in the middle part of September almost. Where's the outrage? Where are the critics calling for Ross to be let go? I don't hear anyone saying anything about it. Everyone's still worshiping the Cubs as if it was 2016 again. We need to snap out of that and quick. Now when you hear Cubs baseball, all you hear is the memory of 2016, the recollection of the rain delay, and the Ben Zobrist hit. Newsflash, it's over. It's been over for a while. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The MLB, any sport, it's all about what have you done for me lately. And the Cubs have done nothing for nobody lately. They've been floundering in first place. It seems like they don't want to win the division. The Cardinals are right on their tail. And nothing's changed. They only have 2 good hitters right now. They have 1 good pitcher, 2 good hitters. And people are expecting them to be this contender. Ian Happ is making an MVP case. Jason Hayward has been surprisingly pleasant. And there is no one else on the team at this moment hitting above 300 besides those 2. And Hayward's at 300 flat. Not one. This has got to be the first time in which the team has a legitimate MVP candidate, a legitimate Cy Young Award candidate, and yet looks horrible on the field. I can't think of another time. I mean, even when Bryant won it in 2016, they won the World Series. They had Lester, too, finish in the top 10, and Hendricks. They were great. This year, the Cubs have 3 good players, but unfortunately, they are not capable, nor should they be capable, of carrying this entire team. And then on top of it, you've got guys who are supposed to be good. Almora, great example, who's now at South Bend. Don't believe what everyone is telling you about the Cubs. Don't believe the narrative that everything's fine. David Ross is a better manager. They're going to go back to their 2016 ways. It's not happening. After last season and that debacle, I said it's time to rebuild. People said I was crazy, and that's fine. Maybe I was a bit too early. But look at this team right now. They have an aging rotation. The young guys coming up are not performing like Alec Mills. Their lineup. Chris Bryant's hitting under 200, albeit he was hurt, but still. Rizzo is hitting 220. Ian Happ is the only competent hitter on this team. So the young guys aren't working. The free agent signings aren't panning out. There is no chance they win a World Series this year or the year after. And that's when Theo and Jed's contracts expire. Where do you think this is going? Put together 2-2. A rebuild is coming. You may not want to believe it if you're a Cubs fan. You may not want to think back to those very dark times in 2010, 2011, 2012. But it's much closer than you think. And for those who tell you there's no way it happens, think again. I watch Cubs games. Do you? Do you see the product on the field right now? It's not good. I would argue this is more so like the 2009 Cubs, 2010 Cubs, than 2016. These guys aren't 100-game winners. These guys aren't World Series contenders. These guys aren't even NLCS contenders. They're going to get in and get eliminated right away. There are so many other teams way ahead of the curve in comparison to the Cubs right now. I know no one wants to admit it. I know it's tough to fathom if you're a Cubs fan. But I'm trying to tell you the truth. Look at the product on the field. Look at when Theo and Jed's contracts expire. Look at where this organization is going in the future. Look at where they are now. Time is ticking. And if you still think the Cubs are a World Series contender, if you think next year and in the years to come, they're still going to be a division winner and a quality MLB team, I ask you to reevaluate your mindset. Come to terms with what's happening. And don't be surprised when the rebuild happens in the next 2 years or so. More to come here on Sports Talk Chicago. My interview with Robert Mays is up next, so stay tuned.